And a hat from Millicent. Ah, Millicent, to what do I owe this excellent pleasure?
Oh, I just thought I'd pop round, you know, just on the off chance.
But a lot of that is improvised as you sort of go through the rehearsal. It's a very short rehearsal period. We just kept sort of changing things as we went along.
Nicola's very fond of improvisation, aren't you?
No,
You're doing something.
No, I know. Don't know what I'm going for. Apparently I'm going to be doing some improvisation tonight.
Both of you have done television and theater, and you've done mostly theater since you left Doctor Who. Is that partly because you're typecast or because you enjoy theater?
It's entirely because I'm typecast, in the sense that not because typecasting isn't anything to do with audiences, really. Audiences, I find, will accept anybody in anything. They quite like seeing people they've seen in other things, but what happens is producers and directors don't want their new product to be prejudiced by preconceptions from an audience about the person who's playing that part. So if you've played something that's very high profile on television, it tends to be some time before you get any other television. And particularly if you're played a very particular character like the Doctor in Doctor Who. And my Doctor was kind of very specific performance. It wasn't kind of one that you would fail to notice, I suppose. So the end result has been that I don't get offered that much television. And also, unless you're offered a long contract in something in television, it tends to be only a couple of weeks' work, doing one television programme. Whereas the theatre I've been offered is 6 months' work. As I have a young family to support, I have to go with that. That's the reason. And if you ask me which I prefer, I much prefer television. I know that's not what actors usually say. Actors say, I like to get the real live buzz from an audience. I like to get the real live buzz of going home at night afterwards and seeing my family. And I enjoy working in a television studio. I like working on a bit and getting it right as you can, and moving on to the next bit.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of offers for screaming American teenagers when I left Doctor Who. It's like every part that's got a screaming American teenager landed on my doormat. And as much as there is a lot of very, very good American work in England that I like to do, I wanted to do a variety of things. And I was very lucky to get Blackadder, but it's the same thing. I mean, a lot of casting directors won't see me because they think I'm American all the time. And then it works the other way as well. They go, oh, it's an American part. No, we've actually found out she's English. No, we don't want her. So you can get caught between that sort of problem and the fact that Doctor Who is a rather strange show in a way, in that they can't just, they sort of think it's children's show, and yet it's actually under drama, and it's very difficult if you've made yourself a particularly large size, as we say, character. I was agreeing with your statement. That it can be difficult to break that image, because casting directors most of the time won't take the trouble to meet you and discover that you are actually a sort of neutral base, that hopefully you can play a great many things. And as Colin said, it's not the audiences. Audiences want to see you do a great many things, and it's not so much so in America. If you have a successful series over here, you very much move on to do something else because people want to see you. You say, oh, this is a successful person. People enjoy watching this person. Let's put them in something else. Whereas it's, oh my goodness, we've seen that before. And it's a different attitude in England. But I definitely love to do a lot more television, though I do love doing theatre as well. I like actually doing something that is different each job. That would be my ideal. Not just the character, but the medium as well.
That hasn't caused any regrets with either of you of doing the part in Doctor Who, has it?
No. I think that's.
No, I wouldn't be asked to be doing all the plays I am doing if I hadn't done Doctor Who. I mean, it's a two-edged sword. On the one hand, it's slowed down my rate of... Because I used to, in terms of Doctor Who, I was doing all sorts of televisions all the time. But as soon as you become identified with something, then you're stuck for a while until a whole new breed of directors comes who haven't heard of it. And I'm moving into that phase now. And all the television directors I know and have worked with have all retired. So there's a whole new breed, and I'm going to go along as a kind of unknown face quite soon, which will be quite useful.
Tell us about John Nathan Turner, because a lot of these, there's like right-wing extremist Doctor Who fanzines that blame him for every problem in Doctor Who, and give me your opinion.
Well, I have extremely strong opinions about that. I mean, I feel very, very sympathetic towards John, because what he has done for the programme is 10 times more than anybody else has ever done. And there is a very tiny little coterie of megalomaniacs who are fans who are frustrated because they've never been produced for the programme, mainly in Britain. I mean, I don't know if there are any over here, I don't know of any. But there are 2 or 3 that I could name, but won't, in the UK, who have made it their lifetime job to do everything they can to sabotage John Nathan Turner. And I think it's ungrateful, miserable, pettifogging, ghastly behaviour. And I think they're worms that ought to be trodden into the ground. Don't beat about Bush, Colin. Tell them what you really think.
Yes.
No, I just think it's all because I mean, John produced the programme for a long time. He is responsible for it being over in this country as successfully as it is. He came over here and marketed it. He always cared about the fans. He always made sure that people like myself and Nicola came to conventions when our first inclinations were, what's all that about? I'm not too sure about that. He persuaded people like Pat Troughton, who never wanted to have any further contact with the programme, and then found out that he loved it. And it was all John. And John has kept the programme on the air in Britain. I mean, he was the only person at the BBC fighting for it. Witness the fact that now he's been ousted, as it were. There's nobody in the BBC who's waving the flag. And those same people are still campaigning to get rid of the little bit that John is doing. I mean, he's been in charge of releasing on the videos. And they've orchestrated a kind of hate campaign against him for his choice of videos now. I just think it's just so stupid. And it's all jealousy. It's simply jealousy of Mr. Mars. I think the right-minded fan, I mean, it's like all vocal minorities. They can swamp the majority, which covers a wide spectrum of opinions. I mean, I'm not saying that everyone approves wholeheartedly of everything that John's ever done.
Sure.
Of course, John's made mistakes. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. Everyone's made mistakes. But I mean, they've coined phrases like pantomime. Doctor Who has become a pantomime because one article said that once. Now, I don't see any men dressed up as women. That's what pantomime's about. I don't see terrible jokes apart from mine, and that was my choice, not John. I put them in. Well, I could go on for half an hour about how unfair I think it all is. And John is a friend, and it is actually, for a while he shrugged it off, but now it's beginning to get to him. And I think if people want to make someone unhappy, then there's something wrong with them. And I think the rest of us should make sure that that's not allowed to continue.
Do you feel that?
That's my case.
They seem to be unable to divorce personal opinions about the man from perhaps disagreements about certain decisions made as producer, which everyone does.
And also, I mean, he's set himself up by being involved with the programme for 10 years. There's an awful lot of stuff there to criticise or to praise. Other producers came in for 3 years, didn't give a hoot about the programme basically, and popped out again. And they're kind of safe because they haven't done anything controversial. They just he tried to do new things.
He took all the risks, and
he took the risks. Yeah.
Do you feel there's also, let's say, the politics of television as well as jealousy that that's losing put through like?
I don't think that there is any conscious feeling about it really. I think that they're irritated by the vocal minority. I think they find the fact that they get these irritating letters from fans all the time at the BBC makes them less likely to bring it back rather than more likely.
How do you feel about
it's very bizarre.
Fans who are planning to sue BBC because they're dragging their feet about putting the show back on the air?
It's ridiculous.
Nonsense, you can't sue an author because he's not writing a book you like, can you? Neither can you sue the BBC for not producing programmes you want. It's a bizarre nonsense.
It's way too large to attack. It's way too large an organisation to launch a
well,
suit.
that's not the reason actually. The BBC, I once tried to persuade the BBC to sue a company over here that were producing photographs and posters which were not authorised, pictures of myself and Nicola on. And the BBC were timid about doing that because it's all legal costs, very expensive in America. And they wouldn't do it. So that's not the reason. I mean, it's just simply a matter of law. There's no legal basis on which you can sue a broadcast company for not making a programme you like.
Otherwise we'd all sue them for Eldorado, wouldn't we?